They called me the office ghost. Not to my face, of course. To my face, they didn't call me anything at all. I was just Alex, the person in the corner cubicle, the one who wore the same gray sweater, the one whose coffee mug was always full, but who never seemed to be at the coffee machine. In a place like this, Innovate Solutions, being invisible was a cardinal sin. Our office wasn't a workplace. It was a theater. You had to perform. You had to be Mark. Mark was our visionary. He'd walk in at 10 a.m. smelling of expensive cologne with a whiteboard marker already in his hand. He'd draw ecosystems and synergies and closed-loop funnels. 90% of it was nonsense. 10% was an idea he'd heard someone else mention in passing, usually me. Or you had to be Sarah. Sarah was the rainmaker. She lived on her Bluetooth headset, pacing the floor, closing deals, and taking all the credit. She was sharp. I'll give her that. She knew how to turn a phrase, how to make a client feel like they were the only person in the world. And then there was Mr. Henderson, our leader, a man who mistook the sound of his own voice for the sound of progress. He loved Mark's vision and Sarah's results. Me? I was listed in the directory as systems administrator, a title so beige it perfectly matched the walls. But my title was a lie. My real job was holding the universe together. When Sarah needed her sales report at 10:30 a.m. for a critical client call, she didn't know that I had written a custom script that ran at 4 a.m., pulling data from 3 incompatible legacy systems, cleaning it, and formatting it into the pretty PDF she glanced at for 2 minutes. She just knew it was always in her inbox. When Mark promised a client a new feature by tomorrow, he didn't know that I was the one who stayed until 3 a.m., coding a patch, testing it on a staging server, and deploying it while he was out celebrating his win at a steak dinner. I wasn't just IT support. I was the architect, the plumber, and the janitor of the entire company's digital infrastructure. I built the internal wiki everyone used, but no one who knew who wrote. I optimized the database queries so the website didn't crash every Black Friday. I was the structural engineer for a skyscraper where everyone else was just arguing about the color of the lobby. And for this, I was paid exactly my salary. No bonuses, no thank yous, just the quiet hum of my server rack for company. It didn't used to bother me. I liked the work. I liked the quiet satisfaction of a complex problem solved. But then the cuts began. Not budget cuts, personal cuts. The kind that sting. The first was the meeting. We were discussing the crippling inefficiency of our invoicing system. It was a manual 10-step process that took 40 billable hours a week. Mr. Henderson, my voice sounding strange from disuse. Everyone blinked as if a chair had just spoken. If we could integrate the API from the sales CRM directly into the accounting platform, we could automate the entire process. It would take me about a week to code. Henderson looked at me, his eyes glazed over. API, integration. Yes, Alex, thank you. We'll look into that. He then turned to Mark. Mark, what's the vision here? Mark, who couldn't integrate a toaster with a power outlet, stood up and boomed, "What we need is a synergistic flow of data. We need to reimagine the client journey." 2 weeks later, at the all-hands meeting, Henderson made a grand announcement. "I want to commend Mark for his visionary proposal to revolutionize our invoicing. He calls it Project Synergistic Flow. It's going to save us thousands." I just stared at my screen. He had pitched my exact idea, but with a stupid name, and he was getting a bonus for it. The second cut was the party. The company's 10-year anniversary, a big black tie gala. I only found out about it on Monday when I saw the photos on the company intranet. There was Mark doing a champagne stand. There was Sarah posing with Henderson. I asked my department manager, who looked genuinely confused. "Oh, Alex, I'm so sorry. The invitations were handled by Sarah's marketing team. I guess they just sent it to the client-facing departments." I wasn't client-facing. I was just the foundation. And you don't send an invitation to the foundation. But the final cut, the one that severed the last thread, that was Project Titan. It was our biggest ever product launch, millions in projected revenue. And 3 days before launch, the primary server failed. Not just failed, it was a catastrophic smoking crater failure. The database was corrupted, the code repository was unreachable. The office descended into a panic I had never seen. Mark was yelling, Sarah looked like she was going to cry, her commissions were evaporating. Henderson was marching around, his face purple, demanding solutions, not problems. They all went home at 6 p.m., defeated, to get some rest. I didn't. I stayed for 72 hours. I slept under my desk for 45-minute increments. I lived on vending machine coffee and stale crackers. I didn't just fix the bug. There was no bug to fix. I had to perform digital necromancy. I manually rebuilt the primary database from fragmented log files. I reverse engineered the corrupted code from a build I found on a forgotten staging server. I rerouted the network traffic, patched the security vulnerabilities, and at 4:55 a.m. on launch day, I hit enter on the final deployment script. The launch was perfect, flawless. It was the biggest success in the company's history. The next Friday was the celebration meeting. Henderson stood at the front, champagne flute in hand. "A toast," he beamed. "This was a team effort, but I have to single out a few heroes. Mark, your leadership in keeping the team's morale high was inspirational. And Sarah, your work in managing the client's expectations during the crisis, truly, you saved us." I was in the back row, my gray sweater smelling of server dust and dried sweat. I hadn't been home in 3 days. Henderson's eyes scanned the crowd. He looked right through me, as if I was a pane of glass. He didn't say my name. He didn't even know I was the one who had done it. I just stood there. I wasn't angry. I wasn't sad. I just felt nothing. The same nothing they saw in me. I walked out of the meeting while they were popping the second bottle. I went to my desk. I packed my single unwatered plant. I logged out of my terminal. I went home. And for the first time in 12 years, I did not set my alarm for the next morning. Monday morning, 9 a.m. My alarm didn't go off. I was awake. I was making tea. The sun was streaming through my window. It felt strange. Back at Innovate Solutions, 9 a.m. meant chaos, but my desk was silent. At 9:30 a.m., Henderson probably noticed. He would have scowled. Alex is late. He'd grunt, making a mental note. At 10 a.m., the first crack appeared. Sarah. Her 10:30 a.m. client call was in 30 minutes, and her inbox was empty. The sales report, my 4 a.m. script, had not run. "Where is that report?" she snapped, marching over to my empty desk. She saw the unplugged monitor, the bare desk, the small ring of dust where my plant used to be. She'd have felt a prickle of annoyance, not worry, annoyance. She went to Henderson's office. "Henderson, Alex isn't here, and the sales report is broken." Henderson waved her off. "Probably sick. Just do it manually." Sarah's face went pale. "Manually? Manually? Do you even know what that means? It pulls from 3 different systems. I don't even know how it works. It just appears." "Handle it, Sarah," he said, turning back to his email. At 2 p.m., the second crack. Mark. He was about to present his synergistic flow project to a new investor. He needed the analytics dashboard, the one I built. "Hey," he called out to the office at large, "is the dashboard down?" Silence. He tried to log in. Access denied. He tried again. Access denied. He, the visionary, tried to fix it. He went into the admin panel, which, foolishly, he had access to. He started clicking buttons, reset permissions, force update. He didn't know that I had put a custom failsafe in place to prevent database corruption, a failsafe that required my password. The dashboard didn't just stay down. He managed to lock out the entire executive team. "What the hell? Alex," he yelled, as if I was just in the bathroom. By 5 p.m., the day was over. It was a mess. Sarah had fumbled her call. Mark had looked like an idiot. But the building was still standing. Henderson sighed, packing his briefcase. He looked at my dark cubicle. "Find out what's wrong with Alex," he barked at HR. "Tell them they'd better be in tomorrow. We have work to do." HR called my phone. It went straight to voicemail. They sent an email. It went unread. Henderson, just before he left, tried to check the server status. He logged into the main portal. A pop-up appeared. "Please enter admin password for server maintenance." He typed password 123. Access denied. He typed Innovate 2025. Access denied. He typed Henderson rules. Access denied. He grumbled. He'd just asked Alex for it tomorrow. He had no idea. The password wasn't in a file. It wasn't written on a sticky note. It was a 64-character encrypted key stored in a physical USB drive, which was currently in my kitchen drawer. He left the office. He didn't know that the automated backup script, my script, which was set to run at midnight, also required that key. The day ended with a sense of dread, but they still thought this was an Alex problem. They didn't realize it was a them problem. On Tuesday, I woke up and went for a walk. I hadn't just walked in a park on a Tuesday morning, ever. I bought a real coffee, not the brown sludge from the office machine. Back at Innovate Solutions, the systemic collapse began. At 9:01 a.m., the payment processor for the entire company website stopped processing payments. It was a small, subtle script I'd written. It authenticated the API key every 48 hours. It was a security measure. And to authenticate, it needed to ping my terminal. My terminal, which was off. At first, no one noticed. At 9:30 a.m., Sarah, already in a foul mood, noticed her sales dashboard showed $0.00. That can't be right, she muttered. At 10 a.m., the first angry client email arrived. I'm trying to buy your product. Your website is broken. At 10:15 a.m., the entire marketing department went into meltdown. All of their expensive ad campaigns, the Google ads, the Facebook ads, were still running. They were burning thousands of dollars an hour, sending floods of customers to a checkout page that didn't work. Every link was a 404. Shut it down! Shut down the ads, the marketing director screamed. But the ad campaign controls? They were hosted on an internal dashboard that Mark had locked everyone out of yesterday. By lunch, the company was hemorrhaging money. Meanwhile, in operations, they couldn't process any orders from the previous day. The logistics server, which I had custom built to talk to the shipping company, was offline. It, too, required my daily authentication key. In accounting, the payroll director realized she couldn't run payroll for Friday. Why? Because I, paranoid about security, had implemented a two-factor authentication system. The second factor, a physical YubiKey, which was on my keychain at home. Henderson, his face now a mask of pure, distilled panic, finally understood. This wasn't a sick day. Mark, he roared, you're the visionary. Fix it. Mark, terrified, strolled to the server room. He was a man of ideas, not details. He saw the rack of servers. He saw a blinking red light. He did what all great visionaries do when faced with a complex problem. He tried to turn it off and on again. He pulled the plug on the main database server. What Mark didn't know, what he could never know, was that the server wasn't just a server. It was the server. And it was in the middle of a delicate but corrupted file write process because he had locked it out yesterday. By unplugging it, he didn't just reboot it. He corrupted the entire primary backup, the one that was still, miraculously, intact. My midnight backup script hadn't run, so this was the last good copy. And he had just murdered it. He plugged it back in. The server screamed. Not a whir, a scream. A series of error beeps that echoed through the now silent office. Mark just stood there. He had turned a 10-alarm fire into a nuclear crater. Day 3, Wednesday. I was reading a book. Henderson, looking like he'd aged 10 years, called in the experts, an external IT consultancy, the kind that charges $1,000 an hour. Two of them walked in, all crisp suits and smug expressions. Let's call them Suit 1 and Suit 2. They looked at the server room. They looked at the error logs. They looked at each other. Who built this? Henderson. Does it matter? Can you fix it? Suit 2. Fix it. Mr. Henderson, what you had here, it wasn't a system. It was a miracle. We've never seen anything like it. Legacy mainframes from 1990 talking to cloud APIs from 2025. Code we've never seen before. It's beautiful in a terrifying way. It's a house of cards, and the person who was holding it together is gone. So, restore the backup. About that, your visionary here, he didn't just reboot, he bricked your primary. We looked for the off-site backups. Yes, the backups. They exist, dozens of them, all encrypted. So, decrypt them. We can't. They're encrypted with a key we've never seen. It's not standard, it's custom. Looks like it was signed -A. Henderson's blood ran cold. Mr. Henderson, we can't fix this. Nobody can. We have to rebuild from scratch. Your website, your logistics, your CRM, your payroll. Everything. How long? Suit 2. 6 months, if we're lucky. Henderson. And the cost? We can have a proposal by Friday, but start thinking in the 7-figure range. $1 million, maybe 2. The office was silent. You could hear a pin drop. Get out, Henderson whispered. The consultants, grabbing their briefcases, left. Then Henderson exploded. Find Alex, he screamed, his voice cracking. Now. The HR director was shaking. Sir, we've tried. The phone is disconnected. The emergency contact number, it's for a pizzeria in Italy. I think it's a joke. The address, Henderson roared. Send someone to their house. We did, sir, this morning. The doorman said the apartment was empty, the lease was paid up, and they left. No forwarding address. Day 4, Thursday. The company was on life support. No sales, no operations. The staff was just sitting there, refreshing their LinkedIn pages. Sarah, in a fit of desperation, was digging through the old Project Titan files. She was looking for anything, a clue, a password. She found a folder deep in the archives. Titan Blueprint V01. It was locked. She tried Mark Rolls, Henderson, Titan. She tried one last password. Alex. It opened. It wasn't just a fix. It was everything. Hundreds of pages of architectural diagrams, thousands of lines of commented code. A timeline that predated Mark's visionary idea by 6 months. She saw the code I wrote. She saw the server architecture I designed. She saw in a single document that Alex, I, hadn't just fixed Project Titan. I had built it. From nothing. She looked up from her screen. She looked at Mark, who was pretending to be on an important call. She walked over. She didn't shout. She just put the laptop on his desk. This, she said, her voice shaking. This was Alex. All of it. Mark looked at it. He saw his vision. He saw my name. His face, his arrogant, charming face, just crumpled. The whole office was watching. The rainmaker and the visionary. You took credit, Sarah whispered. I, Mark stammered. And the entire office just knew. They knew what they had done. They hadn't just ignored an employee. They had ignored the very foundation of the company. And now, the foundation was gone. And the building was in free fall. And me? Where was I? I wasn't on a beach in Bali. I wasn't sipping margaritas. I was in my new, small, very quiet apartment across town. The one I'd leased under a different name. I was cleaning. I was cooking. I was reading books I'd meant to read for a decade. I was sleeping. For the first time in my adult life, I was truly, deeply sleeping. My phone was in a box, with the battery out. After a week, I decided it was time. I bought a new phone, a new number. I turned it on. I checked the news. Innovate Solutions was in free fall. Their stock had been halted. Rumors of catastrophic data loss were everywhere. Then I made a call to a single private number I had memorized. Hello? Hello? Hello, Mr. Henderson. Henderson. Alex? Oh my God. Alex, where are you? Are you okay? We've been so worried. You have to come back. We need you. I let the silence sit for a moment. I'm fine, Mr. Henderson. I just needed a vacation. A vacation, Alex. The company, it's a mess. I didn't realize. Alex, I am so sorry. I'll give you anything. A raise, double your salary, triple it. A new title, Chief Technology Officer, Vice President of everything. Just, please, come back. I looked out my window. It was a beautiful day. No, Mr. Henderson, I don't think I will. I'm not looking for a job. No, wait. Please, don't hang up. We'll be bankrupt by Monday. I'll pay you anything. Just tell us the password. Just 1 hour. That's all I ask. I'm not an employee, Mr. Henderson, and I'm not coming back. But you... However, I am available as an independent consultant. A consultant? My rate is $5,000 per hour, billed in 4-hour blocks up front, starting with the first hour to just walk in the door. When can you be here? The next morning, I walked into the lobby of Innovate Solutions. I wasn't wearing my gray sweater. I was wearing a tailored, dark blue suit. The receptionist didn't even recognize me. I walked onto the floor. It was a graveyard. The theater was closed. Mark was at his desk, staring blankly at a wall. Sarah was at hers, quietly packing her things into a box. Mr. Henderson ran up to me, his hands shaking. Alex, thank God. I didn't smile. I didn't scowl. I just looked at him. The wire transfer? I said. Yes, it's cleared. I walked past him to the server room. The experts from the consultancy were there, standing uselessly. I walked to the main terminal. The error messages were still scrolling. Henderson, Mark, Sarah, they all gathered behind me, the last survivors watching me. I sat down. The chair was still molded to my shape. I took the encrypted USB key from my pocket. I inserted it. I typed in my 64-character password. The system, my system, came back online. The fan's word. The error messages stopped. I looked at the corrupted database that Mark had fixed. I turned to Henderson. "Right," I said. "Let's see what you broke." I looked at my watch. This first hour is $5,000, and it's already over. They never saw me as nothing, ever, again.